Matt Cooke, a longtime definition of what it meant to be a cheap shot artist who was constantly straddling the line of legality in the NHL, as Cooke maintained a reputation throughout his career of being one of the dirtiest players who would go out of his way to injure his opponents. From ending Marc Savard's career to greatly altering Erik Karlsson's, number 24 was at one time among the most hated on ice. Therefore, in the spirit of appeasement, yes, this is me acknowledging Bruins fans watching, we're going to go through and highlight several moments in which Cooke got it handed to him, and with that, here are 6 times that Matt Cooke was destroyed. Oftentimes, what you'll witness here is when Cooke is brutalized, well, it's usually just karma acting out, as the regular season meeting against Shea Weber and the Predators was clearly no exception. Within the final minutes of the contest, an altercation took place at center ice between the Predators' captain at the time and Matt Cooke. Cooke, who was most likely trying to stir something, decided it was a good idea to poke the bear by cross-striking Weber in the face with his stick. Well, for Cooke, this was an action he'd soon come to regret, as Weber, who was visibly incensed, immediately dropped his gloves and began pounding his opponent frantically with his fists, who assumed the turtle position in response. Both players were given fighting majors, causing them to exit the contest, but Cooke was given an extra 2 minutes for his antics. Following some horrific events that took place weeks earlier, which involved Marc Savard being wheeled off on a stretcher due to Cooke's carelessness, Cooke quickly became public enemy number 1 in Beantown for obvious reasons. Therefore, as a response, Shawn Thornton took it upon himself to express his disapproval of Cooke's actions and stick up for his teammate not long after puck drop. As audible boos could be heard raining down as soon as Cooke touched the ice, both Cooke and Thornton dropped the gloves in the Penguin zone. After losing his helmet in the process, Cooke was at Thornton's mercy as he continued to deliver jab after jab before being restrained by the officials. While the home crowd cheered in approval, both players were given fighting majors, but Thornton was also given a 10-minute misconduct for continuing to engage Cooke after officials arrived at the scene. This time around, during the days of Jarome Iginla in Calgary, the hero in Alberta at the beginning of the 2011-2012 season was Flames defenseman, at the time, Corey Sarek. During the middle frame of play, as Cooke gained puck possession and was attempting to enter the opposing zone, he quickly became aware of Sarek's presence as he was the victim of a vicious hit in which head contact was made. The hit itself became a spectacle of debate throughout the hockey world, but according to Sarek, the hit wasn't as bad as Cooke made it appear to be. "It didn't look too exciting to me. He made it look more exciting than it really was," he says. Cooke, who retreated to the quiet room directly after the altercation, then returned for the third, still feeling the effects of the collision. "My jaw is sore," Cooke says. "He hit me right in the chin. The league does a good job at making decisions. I trust they'll do the right thing," he says. Well, obviously, the league saw that this was a clean hit due to no suspension being dealt to the perpetrator. But again, Flames fans had to be smiling internally. Like I said before, Cooke had a way with infuriating the wrong people, which usually resulted in painful repercussions in turn. During a regular season meeting in the Steel City against Chicago, things quickly heated up in the first period, following a pair of hits exchanged between Cooke and defenseman Duncan Keith. As Keith was attempting to retrieve the puck in his end behind the cage, Cooke decided to plow into Keith with his upper body, knocking him to the ice. Keith, who clearly wasn't having it, decided to take matters into his own hands in an attempt to even the score. But objectively, he did more than just that, as Cooke, who was in his own end this time, was blindsided as Keith acquainted his shoulder with Cooke's head. Cooke, who laid on the ice briefly incapacitated, was eventually able to return to form. For his actions, Keith was dealt a minor penalty for interference on the play. Back in Cooke's Vancouver days, things quickly took a painful turn for number 24 during a regular season meeting against the LA Kings in March of 2006. Midway through the second period, as Cooke was skating up ice in puck pursuit, Dustin Brown saw an opportunity to lay Cooke out as he approached, as Brown could be shown leaving his skates and launching his shoulder into the head of Matt Cooke. Following the hit, Cooke fell first into the boards and then to the ice. The biggest takeaway from the incident, humorously, was revealed years later when Cooke made his way to the Twin Cities in 2013. as the Star Tribune reveals that this altercation was the one that caused the forward to lose his front tooth, and thus giving him the true image of a hockey player. Brown, who was also interviewed, gave his account of the incident years prior, while saying, "The puck was coming up the wall. I got it, he was coming to hit me, and I think I surprised him," Brown says. "It wasn't a pretty scene. I mean, I had full control of the puck, and I just got him before he got me. It didn't work out well for him. Most players who dish it out understand that if you're going to give it out, you're going to have to take it," he says. Now, as much as you may dislike a polarizing figure such as Evander Kane, well, maybe this moment right here might cause you to like him just a little as a player. What's considered a beautiful sequence of events for many took place in Atlanta in April of 2010. As the start of the second period, while Kane was trying to move the puck up ice from his zone, Cooke, who wanted to get something going, confronted number 9. But for Cooke, dropping the gloves with Kane was clearly a mistake. After Kane was able to get Cooke into position, with one punch was able to knock out his opponent, rendering him unconscious. After laying on the ice for a considerable amount of time, Cooke was finally able to come to his senses, before having to be stretchered off instead. Head coach at the time, John Anderson, had this to say about the tussle. "Cooke came at an 18-year-old. Anderson said post-game, 'What goes around comes around. That's all I can tell you,' he says." And in the words of Justin Timberlake, that's exactly the case again here.